Welcome to the only course on YouTube that teaches you how to go from $0 to $1,000 per day building and scaling your own mobile apps. This is coming from somebody who generates $49,992 every single month from my portfolio of mobile apps that I built using AI. And unlike all the other videos on YouTube, I'm not just going to show you how to build one feature of an app that's already doing well, but I'm going to take you through an exact framework for building, launching, and scaling your software startup. I'm going to teach you everything that I know and give you examples from my real mobile apps that are live in the market right now, generating over $1,000 a day. As you can see, this is live revenue. $1,339, $1,902, $2,447, $2,494. I'm actually doing it, and I'm going to teach you every single piece of the puzzle today. If you're new to the channel and you don't know who I am, welcome in. My name is Aleem, and I was formerly the head mobile engineer at PrizePicks for 3.5 years. I joined the PrizePicks team when we just had a couple thousand users and helped them scale to over 2 million users. Prior to that, I built my first sports tech SaaS company, scaled that to $10 million in GMV, then ended up exiting. Now I'm the founder of Ambitious Labs, the leading startup accelerator for non-technical founders, where I'll literally teach you one-on-one how to launch your own startup. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description to my LinkedIn profile in case you want to check out my background, and a link to my Twitter account where I answer pretty much every question that people ask me. So feel free to check those out and connect with me on both platforms. Let's jump into the lesson. All right, so the first thing we need to cover is market. This is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs go wrong. Too many times I see entrepreneurs get buried because they try to build an app idea. We never build businesses based on app ideas. We build businesses as solutions to serve markets of people. Look, you could spend years building a product for your specific app idea, getting it perfect, building all the features that you can think of just to launch it to a world where no one knows about it and there's nobody who needs it. That's where you go wrong. Why are you making it hard on yourself? Why don't we build a product where there's a market of people already with a problem and we can position our product right underneath that market and just have a flood of users coming in? So that's exactly what I'm going to correct in you right now. I've given you a 3-category framework here for finding a market of people who are ready to pay for your problem. There are 3 categories that software entrepreneurs are flocking to right now: consumers, prosumers, and B2B business owners. There's another category that I'm not listing here, which is enterprise, and that's because these are the 3 categories that I have the most experience in and that I'm confident teaching you about. Consumers. Consumers are normal, everyday people with normal people problems. Think about the person who just has a job, they have normal people problems, and they're just happy with their average life. Then you have prosumers. These are ambitious, motivated, money-minded people who have a little bit higher caliber problems in life. They're more knowledge forward. And for example, you can think about someone like you. You're right here on YouTube trying to learn and upskill yourself. You are a prosumer, a professional consumer. Then we have B2B and business owners who are full-time business owners generating over $5,000 a month in net operating income, meaning they run businesses full-time. Inside each one of these categories, we have problems, okay? Not ideas, but problems. For consumers, focus, weight loss, testosterone, anxiety and depression, dieting, credit repair, meal prep and cooking, brain traveling, etc. For prosumers, we have more like professional problems such as financial planning, learning a language, learning a skill, biohacking, real estate, legal services, crypto and NFTs. These are problems that you could charge more money for. Consumers, typically the price point that you can charge when you build an app in the consumer market is around $29 per year. And if you want to get rich charging $29 per year, you need a lot of volume. So either a big influencer, a lot of money for ad spend, you just need a lot of volume. But if you can build an app in the prosumer space or a software in the prosumer space, this is where you can demand a price point like $19 per month, which is a lot easier to scale to a full-time income source than $29 a year, which is less than $3 a month. Okay, but these problems are a little bit more valuable to solve, right? E-commerce, business tools, marketing tools, task tracking, side hustling, public speaking. These are like higher level problems. And this is where there's a huge lack of solution because everybody's trying to build consumer products, but not many people know of these niches in the professional consumer market where you can find valuable problems to solve. So if I were you and I wanted to build a valuable solution, I would definitely be erring toward prosumers. B2B and business owners is also very exciting because business owners have money to pay for solutions to problems that can directly impact their ROI or their revenue. For example, inside my Dreams and Apps Accelerator, we recently onboarded multiple business owners who are building software to generate more leads, such as coaches, consultants, legal firms, service-based businesses. These are business owners who need leads to survive, and they need ways to streamline the operations of their business. For example, we have a spirituality coach right now, also a legal consultant, who are building software to make their intake processes easier for their coaching businesses and their consulting businesses. They're offering it as a front-end tool to generate leads and provide value in a hands-off fashion. Then they're taking the leads that are generated and then upselling them into bigger programs and offerings. And this is a fantastic way to streamline your fulfillment and build some enterprise value inside of your company. We're seeing a lot of business owners do this right now. And if you're an entrepreneur who has a business, you could be building software to either streamline your process, or if you're an entrepreneur, you could be building a software for these types of businesses. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description to this exact document so that you can access all of these markets that I have curated for you. Now that you understand what a market is and that it's a group of people who have money that are willing to solve a problem, we can now move to product. Product is the vehicle that you're going to use to solve that problem. In our case, it's an app. But I've broken down product into two kind of steps here. First is product research. How do you know if you have a problem that people are going to use and pay for? Well, the number one signal is that you need to solve a painful problem. A painful problem is a problem that people are already trying to pay to solve. For example, they are using Google Sheets to solve the problem. They are paying a person to solve their problem. They are actively trying to solve that problem with their wallets. And your job is to come in and intersect that kind of value creation process and get your product in front of those people who are trying to solve that problem, okay? A painful problem can be found using tools like Reddit. Reddit is what I like to call a high intent search signal, where people go to Reddit to find solutions to their deepest, darkest problems, or they go to kind of crowdsource the knowledge of the internet. For example, when I was building Closer Coach, I was actually searching Reddit for something like AI sales training roleplay Reddit. I was trying to figure out if salespeople out there in the world were actually using AI or if they were interested in using AI to help them roleplay. I noticed here that there was a lot of people actually posting these Reddit posts like, has anyone tried an AI role-playing simulator? Realistic role plays for cold discovery calls with AI. Ever used AI role-playing like Hyperbound? Do you use ChatGPT for sales role-playing? You get the point. There are people out there literally coming to Reddit asking if people have used this solution. The cool thing is that the solution didn't really exist until I built Closer Coach. What I ended up doing for Closer Coach is I went to the App Store and I searched AI sales role-playing. I noticed that there were a couple apps out there that had really poor reviews. And those reviews said things like, oh, the AI doesn't even work. I wish I could input, my business details and get personalized role plays. So I took all of that feedback as product research or product validation, and I built my product around that. Okay, I hope you see where I'm headed here. First, we identified that there was some intent from people on Reddit, and that gave us some validation that this was a painful problem that people wanted to solve. How did I know it was painful? Is because I have access to sales managers and sales reps, and I know that role playing is painful. Sales managers have to practice the same role plays every single week. And so to build a solution with AI that makes that process very scalable was a no-brainer for them. And it was a problem that they were already paying to solve because they were hiring coaches. They were hiring people to come in and train their reps. I know that there's a lot of money in that space of sales training. So we were able to come in and build a product that kind of sits in the middle of that value creation process. I hope that makes sense for you all. Now we go into the second piece of this, which is you need to have some competition, okay? And so for Closer Coach, I actually found that there was this tool called Hyperbound. Someone says here, ever used AI role-playing tools like Hyperbound? So then I Googled what Hyperbound was, and I found that it was an AI sales coaching platform. However, it was for web only, and it was primarily built for enterprise customers, so people who work at large companies. there was no tool out there that fit the prosumer market, like a pocket size, handheld, bite-sized sales training tool that people could use, directly on their phone and download on the App Store. I found that this solution was too clunky, that, it was probably geared toward, large companies with thousands of employees, because I saw here it said things like SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, ISO certified. So instead of getting scared of this, I found out that, hey, this is a market that they're solving for, the high-end enterprise customer. I found that there was an underserved pocket of people like insurance agents and high-ticket consumer and automotive sales, and just a completely separate type of salesperson that was underserved, because an automotive salesperson isn't going to use this tool. An automotive salesperson doesn't care about SOC 2 or ISO. You can tell that this product was built primarily for enterprise customers who required this type of compliance. That's what a experienced entrepreneur would do. They would see that there is an underserved market and then position their product for that market, even though there's already competition. So I don't want you to get afraid of competition here. Number 3 is single player, meaning your app doesn't have to have a bunch of fancy social features. It should work and deliver value just by having one user use it. One user should be able to sign up, create an account, and extract the value or have their problem solved without other people needing to be on the app. I see a lot of people who want to come in and build these crazy social features, and they think about how their app is only going to work when they have 100,000 people on it. But that's just asking for more points of failure and honestly a lot more work. Getting 100 users is already hard. Why try to build an app that only works at 100,000 users? Single player is the way to go. One person, one utility, one problem. Okay. That leads me to point number 4, a 1 minute time to value. Meaning in less than 1 minute, a user should be able to have their problem solved. You don't want to build an app that's super complicated with dozens of features and all these different pathways. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they first build their app, they have these apps that have all these crazy paths where, there's one page here, and then that page leads to 2 pages, and then that page leads to a couple more pages. And then next thing you know, you have these crazy journeys of, people going from page to page, and you don't actually know where people are dropping off because you haven't really designed a funnel and you haven't really designed like a true path that you can measure where people are dropping off and actually completing the goal. It's critical that you have one core path that you can consistently measure and optimize on. Simplicity is key here. This is what your app should look like, not the other way around. We should have one page after one page and be able to clearly track the drop-offs, because at the end of the day, our goal is to build a funnel. And we'll talk about that in just a moment here. Okay. Next, subscription-based. I think this is the fastest way to achieve real enterprise value. It's also the most exciting way because every new user will compound. You don't need to reacquire new users from zero every single month. And to be quite frank, this is why software businesses have such high exit multiples and enterprise value, because as you have more people, you have more consistent revenue every single month. And that's what acquirers are willing to pay strong EBITDA and revenue-based multiples for. So I highly recommend simplifying your business model. Don't do anything crazy with business models. No ads, no, donations, no like crazy things. It's either got to be subscription-based. And on top of subscription, you can tack on usage-based, especially if you're building an AI product that has incremental costs as users interact with your product, such as, AI costs, right? So I highly recommend subscription-based there. Then we have product validation, okay, which is kind of like finding competition and doing some research, but I have a little trick here. I want to find products in similar niches that are doing at least $100,000 a month in revenue. We can do that by heading over to a tool like App Figures and looking for a product that already has revenue. And if you're okay finding a product with less revenue, that's fine too. But I highly recommend 100K in revenue because that shows you that there's a big enough market for you to get a piece of the pie. You can use a tool like App Figures or Screen Designs. For example, you can head over to App Figures here and search for an app like Olive. Olive is a app that helps you find like seed oil food near you. And you could just kind of Google seed oil scout. You'll see here that there was this app. It's not actually Olive, but it's Seed Oil Scout Healthy Dining. It's doing $230,000 per month in revenue. That suggests to me that there is a large market out there. There is almost a $2 million+ annual market there. So you could be building products for the seed oil market or the seed oil conscious market, right? So that suggests to me that this is a market that's worth kind of attacking. Next, I want to go over a few more validation signals. And if you implement any one of these correctly, it can create huge signal for a good product. Number one is to scan bad reviews for unmet needs. Reviews are fantastic because typically the only people who leave reviews are people who tried to use the product and were unsatisfied with how the product solved their problem, so they went out of their way to leave a bad review. A bad review is always a great thing, even if it's your product. In fact, I often tell my entrepreneurs that sometimes you should look for bad reviews and you should create opportunities to get bad reviews. A couple one-star reviews on your product is not going to hurt you, especially when you think about 3 or 4 more 5-star reviews is all you need to kind of drown out that one-star review. So sometimes I like to create an opportunity to give a 1-star review because that will farm a review from somebody who was so intentional about trying to use your app and get value from it that they created an opportunity for you to get better. So you can either find reviews on your product or you can scan other apps in the store. For example, this Invoice Maker app, you can scroll down, find their worst reviews, 2-star, 1-star, and 2-star reviews, and find the people who gave really in-depth feedback and look for opportunities to become better, okay? Then we can use the exists on web but not on mobile strategy. If you recall, that's the exact strategy that I used when I was validating the Closure Coach app. I saw that Hyperbound created a web-based AI sales coach, but there was no good pocket-size mobile companion. So I built the mobile version of that. And this opportunity exists in many products. Next, we have duct tape workflows that signal opportunity, meaning people are putting together Google Sheets and Zapier and N8N and Make.com automations, or maybe they're just manually solving the problem. For example, one of our builders, Nick, built an app called Compete NG, which is a really cool fitness goal tracking app that he was actually doing with his father on a Google Sheet. Him and his father were managing their goals and holding each other accountable through a Google Sheet system. So he ended up making an app so that he could give that same system to his friends and other people who wanted to hold their friends or family accountable. And he charges a subscription fee for people to use that. He's actually a real builder from inside the Dreams into Apps Accelerator who went off to quit his job and work full-time on his app. And that's what he does full-time. So that is one way to automate a duct tape workflow. Then we can go into launch waitlist or pre-sign up pages. I'm not a big fan of this one, but it does work in some regards. A lot of people say, oh, I have 100 people on my waitlist, but you could just walk around the street and force 100 people to sign up for your waitlist. Real intent in marketing is when money is down or they're signing up for a trial or they're already paying to solve a similar problem. I would way rather you see bad reviews on a tangential product in a tangential niche, or I'd rather see Reddit signals, or I'd rather see YouTube videos as signals than you tell me that you have 100 waitlist signups. However, if you do have signups that are coming from like a high intent traffic source like Reddit or a Facebook group or something that starts with a high intent traffic source, that makes sense to me. But if you're going around just asking people for waitlist signups, that's not good. You need to look at the quality of users who are signing up for your waitlist. Okay, and that leads me to the last point, which is community chatter in forums and groups. You know that I love Reddit. There's so much activity on Reddit and almost every single niche is covered on Reddit. So there's a very high chance that whatever problem you are seeking to solve, there is a high intent signal on Reddit. And that's where I would highly recommend that you look to find people and find the language that they're using. That's another big piece too on Reddit. You can find like strings of keywords that they're using to solve their problems, okay, or communicate their problems. Use those strings of keywords in your marketing, in your app store screenshots, and in your messaging so that you can attract them into your app and really give them that sense of, oh, this app is for me. And that's how you actually create a cohesive structure or a cohesive narrative between your product and what's called your ICP, your ideal customer profile. Your ideal customer profile is a description of the person that you want to build a product for. Oftentimes I hear entrepreneurs say, oh, I want to build an app for anybody who has X problem. Well, that's the wrong way to approach it. You need to clearly define who exactly your problem is for. I'm going to show you a list of 3 winning apps that are crushing it right now, and we'll go over the ICP for each one. Here we have Whoops, puppy and dog training. It's doing $550,000 per month. As you can see here, this app gives you training exercises for your pets. The ICP, or the ideal customer profile for this type of app, could be a dog owner who's in their 25 to 45-year-old range, who is very passionate about teaching their dog new tricks. Maybe they've already tried to hire a dog trainer, or maybe that they're tired of their dog just kind of being boring. That is a very clear description of a specific type of person. That person may be in the hundreds of thousands or even like 1 to 2 million population range. That's called your total addressable market, or your TAM. So your TAM might be a few million people who have dogs, who have tried to pay for trainers, who have already attempted to teach their dog new tricks, and are just tired of their dogs being boring. That's a very clear description, but you can see that at 150,000 installs per month, this app can generate 550K in revenue, which is almost 6 million a year. This app could also be a fantastic lead gen or strategic acquisition for a large private equity company or a big scale pet firm, or somebody who wants to get exposure into the pet market, a market that had actually been growing since COVID. So I hope you can see kind of the strategic alignment and how we create these ideal customer profiles and serve a specific market using that profile. Then we have Buddy, a budget planner app doing 45K a month. Fintech is a fantastic place to be right now because the market is definitely slowing down. People are getting more tighter with their discretionary income, and savings have gone down, credit card balances have gone up. So people are being more conscious with their budgets and with their finances. So fintech, especially consumer fintech, is an interesting place to be right now. And every app kind of does budget planning or budget tracking or income tracking their own way. And so if you can build something that appeals to maybe the way that you track your finances, or the way a specific ICP tracks their finances, like maybe 18 to 21 year olds or 21 to 25 year olds who are just building credit, or 25 to 35 year olds who want to buy their first home. Each one of those ideal customer profiles could have a solution built for them. Then we have NoteSnap, a banknote identifier. I really like these machine vision or even AI image apps because nowadays, especially ChatGPT 5, Claude, Perplexity, have very, very strong knowledge bases, and you could build very case-specific AI tools. For example, this one is a banknote identifier where you can take a picture of money and it will tell you what exactly it is. It looks like they even offer some additional content and coursework on how to tell different monies apart. This app is doing $65,000 per month, definitely a little bit smaller, but also very sizable, almost $1 million a year, 30,000 installs per month. And I bet you they can grow this app organically through Instagram, through TikTok, maybe even some high intent traffic sources like affiliates who may already have blogs existing on the internet that tell people where banknotes are from. So you can see that these are 3 winning products that serve 3 winning markets. And each one of these markets are actually clearly defined in my market list here. So you definitely should take a look and find a product market that you could build for. All right, now let's get into app development. And this is where my expertise lies. I'm a technical software engineer and I've been building products for over 10 years. I've seen the market evolve over time, and it's never been easier to build a software product. However, it's never been more complicated to choose the software that you want to use, or the vibe code technology stack, or the low code technology stack that you want to use to build your app. The first thing I will say is that it doesn't matter what technology you use. You just need to commit to something and move forward. However, there are some technologies in the market that are new, especially in the rise of vibe code, that you should steer away from. I would only recommend you technologies from companies who have raised significant rounds of funding, who have significant community traction and volume, where people are actively supporting each other, and that the team behind the vibe code tool can actually support the long-term future of that vibe code tool and make it maintainable so that you can ship more features, you can have access to the code, you can add team members, you can actually scale your technical operation. And some tools out there right now do not have all of these capabilities. I've seen tools like Base 44, like Rourke. People are coming to me and saying, oh, I can build full-on apps. That's cool. Yeah, you can probably build a basic app, but can you scale a technical operation? Can you scale a business on those platforms? I think not. So today I'm going to give you my 2 pathways that you can go down to build your software product. Let's start with the AI way, the vibe code way. My favorite technology stack right now is Lovable and Supabase for web apps. If you're trying to build a web SaaS platform, honestly, Lovable and Supabase are great. You can then export out into Cursor. whenever you're ready. What do I mean by that? Well, eventually you may outgrow the Vibe Code platform. You may want to do some custom things. You could export it out to Cursor, but you don't have to. You can build 99% of products that you want to build, in my opinion, inside of Lovable and Supabase. I actually have built a full-on application that I'm about to launch and scale to 8,000 users. I will be launching a video on that on my channel soon. Maybe by the time you watch this, it will be available. But I'm using Lovable and Supabase. That's good for web, but what about mobile? Well, you can actually use a wrapper tool called Natively to wrap your Lovable and Supabase application into a mobile app. I have an entire video on how to do that on my channel, but it can handle both web and mobile apps. Lovable is great because it is JavaScript and React based, which makes it scalable in that the code will be fast. It's JavaScript based, so it will SEO. It renders static HTML. And the reason that I'm bullish on Lovable for the long term is that they just raised $200 million valued at a almost $2 billion valuation, meaning they have lots of runway. I know their team is small, and they probably will use this money over the course of a long period of time. Whereas other app builders out there may not have a lot of money. They might be bootstrapped, and you never know when that one founder is going to get burnt out or if that growth wave ever dies. At least Lovable has a lot of runway, which makes me bullish that we can build our software on this, and they will continue to release new features and make the technology operation a lot more scalable on Lovable. The other thing is that Supabase is a SQL-based database, and I love SQL because it is portable. You can transfer it to any other SQL database. It's also a very transferable skill to know. You can add this skill on your resume or look for opportunities in the future where you can leverage your new SQL skills if you're building a software product using Supabase. SQL is also very scalable. You can build white label B2B SaaS. You can build pretty much any app. It's highly queryable and searchable. So if you want to build tools that have analytics or the ability to create computations and you want to search your data, it's a lot more queryable and indexable than Firebase is. It's also very safe and secure because you can set up your security rules. You could even self-host this to get through HIPAA compliance, PCI compliance, or whatever compliance that you may need to go through for your app. We have builders inside the Dreams into Apps program who are building health tech apps and require HIPAA compliance. And so we recommend going with stacks like Supabase, Firebase, which are technically HIPAA compliant as long as you are following the steps that are listed by the agency. Okay, then let's go through low code. This is actually one of my favorite, even though we're in a world where you can AI generate products. Why? Well, because you have a lot more control. Flutterflow and Firebase is a proven stack that I've been teaching for the last 2 years, and we've successfully built, monetized, launched, and taught over 1,100 entrepreneurs how to build apps with. Flutterflow is fantastic because it's drag and drop, and you're also learning the basics of software development as you are using the tool. So they've done a really great job of abstracting out all of the developer terms into a drag and drop interface that anybody can pick up. That's why I like Flutterflow, and it also integrates really beautifully with all the tools that you need to successfully scale a mobile app. Like it integrates with RevenueCat, Adaptee, Firebase Remote Config, analytics, Mixpanel. It has all of the integrations that you might need to build your product. So Mixpanel for analytics, you have RevenueCat or Adaptee for paywall. You have Firebase Remote Config for running A/B tests. You have Mux for live streams. You have I said Mixpanel, RevenueCat, blah 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 blah. What else do we have? We have Supabase integration as well. So if in case you do need to use Supabase, they have that integration. So I like Flutterflow because it abstracts out pretty much everything that you might ever need. And that's why I fell in love with it. And their team also raised, 8 figures in funding, and they have the runway. Nowadays, there is Firebase Studio. And I think Firebase Studio is really good, especially for backends. The front end product, I think Lovable beats it. I think there are a lot better tools for the front end. Firebase Studio, however, is really, really good for backend in case you want to build your own Node.js servers, you want to build your own Python servers. Maybe you don't want to build something on NAN because you want the code access. I think like Firebase Studio is a great idea, especially if you are trying to learn software development and be exposed to the code. I think NAN and some of these other tools out there are fantastic low code builders, but we do have builders who want to enroll into the Dreams and Apps Accelerator who say, hey, I want to use this tool for the front end, but I really want to write code on the back end. How would I do that? Well, I think Firebase Studio has done a fantastic job of giving you the infrastructure that you need to host the code, and they've given you a really intuitive interface that actually allows you to generate the code, and the agent is highly useful as well. I don't really like Replit's backend builder because they try to tie you into Replit's database, but Firebase Studio does a really good job. All right, then we have the holy grail, Firebase. Firebase is one of my favorite backend platforms because it has every single solution that you need to build and scale a successful software business. Let's over to Firebase and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So inside of Firebase, you have build, run, and analytics. All of the build solutions that you have here are everything you need to successfully set up the infrastructure needed to actually run your app. For example, you will need a Firestore database, which is responsible for hosting all of your data. You'll have an authentication system where you can offer login with Google, sign up with email. You'll see that one of my apps that I have has 18,176 users. You're probably like, oh my God, that probably cost a lot of money, right? No, Firebase is actually extremely affordable. If you check out my usage and billing, you'll see here that this project literally costs nothing to run. That's because Firebase has a very generous free tier and they don't want to start charging you until you are in like the hundreds of thousands of users range. And at that point, your bill is still going to be between $5 and $10 per month. It's very affordable to run your software business here. And once you start paying, anywhere above $10 a month, it means that you have a lot of users, and that's a good problem to have. You're probably monetizing those users at that point, and it's a very small cost in the grand scheme of things. So I really enjoy Firebase because of its comprehensiveness, and it has literally everything from build, actually running your app. You can be running A/B tests, which is something that I do in my platforms as well. Not on this particular app, but a different app is where I'm running my A/B tests, where I can actually remote control different things in my app and test which are actually producing higher results. You also have analytics here too, where you can real-time track how many users are using your app. I love looking at this, and actually I have a dashboard in my office where I can see real-time analytics of all of my products. So Firebase is really extensive. Supabase has a lot of these features as well, but Firebase is a lot more beginner friendly because you're just reading and writing JSON objects. You don't have to worry about, complex SQL queries or, the row level security rules. Firebase has very easy security rules that you could generate with ChatGPT, and they even give you templates as well to successfully set up your security. Firebase is fantastic if you're a beginner, and all of the apps that I've successfully monetized to about 100K MRR are built on Firebase. Sweet. And look, if you want to learn the Flutterflow Firebase stack, I actually have a full 3-hour course on my YouTube channel. I'll make sure to leave a link in the description to that. I've had over 150,000 people go through it. It is literally a computer science degree in one course. So if you want to get technical, after you go through this video and you learn how to come up with an idea, build it, and scale it, if you want to put your hands to keyboard and start building, check out this 3-hour tutorial on Flutterflow. I also have multiple tutorials on my channel for building web and mobile apps using Lovable. Cool. So now that you know how to build an app or SaaS using vibe code or low code, the next step, which I think is the most important, is how do you convert traffic into paying customers? This is, I think, the most important part because oftentimes I see technical entrepreneurs build an app and they feel that the features of the app will sell themselves. But there's a true marketing science behind taking attention and converting those people into paying customers, and that concept is called a funnel. Most startup founders don't understand this concept, and once you do, this will give you the confidence to actually go all in on whatever idea you're thinking about and have the ability or the framework or a proven path to actually monetize that app. Let's go in and learn this concept. So we want to take traffic and convert them into paying users. So how do we acquire traffic? There are 3 main ways that I've seen a lot of success with: ads, influencers, and organic. You can run ads to get people to see a certain video or a certain image that promotes your product. You can partner with influencers, or you can do short form content, YouTube content, blog content, or affiliate content to get organic high intent users. Once you acquire that attention, the next step is to take people down a path. Well, the path that's intentionally designed for mobile app onboardings is to take people down to the App Store listing. The App Store listing page is where you see a collection of screenshots that sell the outcome of your product and spark curiosity. Notice that the outcomes here are very aspirational. Master the art of sales. Become a top 1% sales professional. This is how you successfully market a product because people are looking for a solution to their problem. Remember, when we go back to our whole market research and market validation section, we know that people are trying to solve their problem and they're looking for an opportunity to exchange money. So the outcomes that we sell here are what money is being exchanged for. That is where we want to spark curiosity. Then we take users down an onboarding flow, which is undoubtedly probably the most important part of the entire process. The cool thing is there's this website called screensdesign.com that you can head over to and spy the onboarding flows of pretty much every successful app. And you can even see their monthly revenue numbers, 25K, 75K, 13K. And you could essentially steal like an artist from these pre-proven paywalls. It's critical to understand that many of these companies are investing significant amounts of money, acquiring data, running A/B tests. So rather than us try to reinvent the wheel, it's better that we just learn off the back of these companies that are already working. We would do this pretty much at every startup that I worked at. It's not stealing, it's just referencing, getting inspired, and learning from the market. The market is moving at the same pace. Why should we stay behind and try to spend money on tests that other people in the market have already proven? We should just be staying up with the market, okay? Onboarding flows really aren't that tricky. It's really just a matter of introducing your product, asking questions to get the user to admit that they have a problem, and then selling them the outcome. Almost every successful app does this exact same questionnaire funnel where they ask questions, they show some value of how people have gone from 0 to 100 with the product. They ask some more questions, they show social proof. They always do some sort of personalized analysis. This is a perfect example of like an app that says, we've spotted a chance to boost your views by plus 7,000. This is where you are today. This is where you're going to go. And they do that to juxtapose or compare the value to, the potential or the value of what it's going to ask you to pay for. So check this out. It's going to give you some free information, free value. And then boom, now it's saying, hey, I told you where you are. This is where you want to go. Pay me $0 now, then $29.99 a year. And they convert into the app. That's pretty much the same pattern that every successful app uses. For example, this is Golf Fitness and Workouts, which is actually an app that somebody inside the program built. So look, it gives you some social proof, asks some questionnaires about your golf game, working on your plan, and then it says, boom, this is your plan. Now pay us for this plan, okay? Every app uses that same technique. Your onboarding flow is your 24/7 sales rep because each one of these onboarding flow techniques is incorporating a sales strategy called the gap sale technique. You're probably wondering, why am I talking about sales? Well, that's because that's the biggest gap that I see when somebody comes to me and says, hey, Aleem, I have an idea for a product, an app idea or a SaaS, and I want to build it. Well, they try to sell the feature too much and they don't understand the outcome. So the gap sale methodology is a methodology that says, hey, you need to understand where the user's current situation is, what their desired future state is, and then position a solution to get them to that desired future state. And that is how you sell a software product. Okay. If you do that correctly, it will almost always create buying pressure in your end user to make the purchase or at least start a trial. When you have a mobile app or a SaaS business where you have a trial, well, there's one other key metric that you need to accommodate, which is trial start to paid percentage. I have an entire video on my channel about this, but essentially it's very likely that if you follow my strategies for setting up your onboarding flow, you're probably going to get a 20% paywall to trial start rate, potentially even higher if you are solving a very emotional or deep problem. When you get people to start a trial, your next phase of the process is to get people to convert into paying customers. I highly recommend either 3 days or 7-day trials. Do not go longer than that. And please use RevenueCat or Adapty to handle the trials for you. I've seen people do crazy things where they want to handle the trial themselves and they're too scared of getting people to opt into the paywall or the transaction box that pops up from the bottom of the screen on Apple or Android. They're too scared to have people do that. So they say, oh, I'll handle the trial myself. Don't do that. Let RevenueCat or Adaptee handle the trial. What you need to do in between there, and this is a pro tip that not many people talk about, probably because they don't have the experience that I have, is you need to set up what's called re-engagement. You can use a tool like OneSignal, and OneSignal allows you to send automated push notifications and emails throughout various parts of the customer lifecycle. So for example, when somebody starts a trial to when they pay, that's a critical time period in the customer journey that you want to send emails to, push notifications to, and let the user know that there's a real person and a real brand behind the software. Software is an inherently sketchy thing to put money into in the first place, so your job is to de-risk and earn the trust of your client. I'll quickly show you my exact funnel for how I run Closer Coach. Closer Coach is my AI sales training mobile app. I'm running paid ads to it. So I've spent over $1 million on paid ads, and I truly understand that Meta will show people your ads based on what you say in the hook. So I'm really good at writing hooks for my ads. These two ads are calling out salespeople in the automotive industry. That brings people to my App Store listing page. People see the outcomes, they get excited, then they go into the onboarding flow. You'll notice here in my onboarding flow, I'm actually qualifying people based on who they are, and then I show them a 2x increase screen. So I'm selling people the opportunity to double their sales performance with my app. If I can get them excited enough, that's when I get them to opt into my $19.99 a month subscription or a $99 a year subscription. And this is currently converting at a 22% paywall to purchase rate. Okay, so this is working, and it's almost likely that you're going to be able to achieve these same results. But the trick is in the re-engage strategy. So I actually have a journey set up in OneSignal with basic email and push notification flows. Pretty much what I do is I say, hey, when a first-time user comes in, wait 20 minutes and then send a push notification that attacks their pain. Like, hey, your first challenge starts today. Don't let somebody outwork you. And that gets people to come into the app and potentially subscribe or try again and stay engaging. Okay, so some of the key journeys that you need are download to sign up. So people who download but don't sign up, you'd be surprised how many people just download an app and never do anything with it. Then the main one is sign up to purchase, making sure you attack people who gave you their contact information but didn't either purchase or start a free trial, okay? And then what I like to do is 14 days of value first email nurturing content. Just yesterday, I had somebody after 27 days opt in. Well, they started a trial, and then 27 days later, they actually finished purchasing their trial. It was pretty crazy. Let me see if I can actually get that screenshot. Yep, I found it. So right here is a log of a real user who came in June 24th. They started a trial literally a month later, July 21st. They canceled their trial. They opened the app literally August 19th and then paid. So this is probably because I've been sending them value-driven content for a long time, and they knew there was real people behind this, and I was pretty much getting free impressions. What does that mean? Well, either I could run ads to keep my brand in front of their face, or I can use the contact information and push notification token that they already gave me and just send them more content and get free impressions to keep my brand top of mind. These are marketing techniques that I use in my high ticket accelerator business that I'm applying here in my SaaS and mobile apps, and it all works the same way because people often think that because they're selling software, they're selling like magic. They're selling a black box. Remember that people buy from people, and we need to ensure that we have a people-led re-engagement strategy or a people-led trust building framework, because people want to earn trust in you. They want to know that this is a product that's going to evolve over time, that's active and has activity. Okay, that's why setting up these re-engagement sequences are super important. All right, now let's go into traffic, because you know now how to not only build an app, but how to create that funnel to take traffic and turn them into paying customers. But how do we get the traffic? Well, I've put together 3 main traffic sources that you can copy and generate significant amounts of traffic and significant amounts of revenue. Let's jump in and talk about the first one, which is very popular amongst younger entrepreneurs right now, which is organic TikTok and organic Instagram Reels. This is the concept of posting short form content to TikTok with the intent of it going viral, showcasing your product in the content, and then driving those downloads to your app. So I'll show you how this works directly on TikTok. There's this app called Rise app that primarily is scaling through organic content. So if you scroll down after choosing Rise, you'll see here that there are videos that are getting a good amount of views, 27,000 views. Notice right there, he's showing the product in action. There's no direct ad, or this isn't a paid ad. This is just an organic video that TikTok is pushing to its wider audience. So you see another mention of the product here. And if you look in the comments, people are saying, you know, can you use the Rise app for free? Discipline. And there are probably other people saying, what app is that? And then they can search for Rise app in the App Store. When you run this type of marketing channel, you're probably going to see a lot of App Store search traffic because people are searching for the app. This game is all about volume. It is free, but it's all about volume. And you pretty much have to spend 80% of your time on this because it's going to take a lot of reps. It's going to take a lot of practice. You won't crack it in the beginning, but once you do, it can yield really good outcomes. The other thing worth knowing is that your click-through rate is going to be low. TikTok is going to push or Instagram is going to push your content to the worldwide audience. That audience may not have a lot of buying power. They might not have a lot of buying intent. It's also not a direct ad that you can just click on and go to a link like a paid ad would be. People have to exit the platform they're on and actually go search for it. So your CTRs or your click-through rates are probably going to be in the low, like 0.3% range to 0.5% range. Very unlikely that you're going to get over a 1.0 click-through rate. I would highly err toward getting a 0.3% click-through, and you can model out. Say you were able to drive 10 million views. At 10 million views, a 0.3% click-through rate could be profitable for you. Whereas paid ads, you're going to get 1 to 4% click-through rate depending on how good your ads are, which if you have the money could be more beneficial. But anyways, there are a lot of people seeing really good success here. And here's the playbook. This is the same playbook that I use, by the way, to create high-performing videos. One is to find a high-performing video in another niche. Like, for example, we saw that this video did really well. We could literally just copy that video and just kind of remix it to our own style, if you will. There's an outlier strategy that I highly recommend you guys all look at for YouTube called the outlier strategy. This is a strategy that's mainly used for YouTube, but it's very similar to TikTok and Instagram. If there's a video that has performed exceptionally well, you can recreate that video because it's an outlier, and TikTok, Instagram, and the platforms will recognize that it's performed good in the past for others, and it will push it for you as well. So you recreate the video using a similar script architecture. So don't copy the script word for word, just understand the architecture, understand the hook, understand the body, understand why people watch through the whole video. Then you make product mentions about 35% of the way through the video. You don't want to do it too soon because then users will see that it's an ad and they'll just bounce off of it. You want the algorithm to see people watch through so that it pushes it further. I've indicated a few apps here like Jenny AI and then another app called Arise. When you download this document using the link in the description, you can get access to these as well. Okay, now let's move to paid ads. I like paid ads because they're fast, but they're expensive. You need to have some budget. Here's my playbook for running ads. Number one, script the ad and put most attention on the hook. Meta is going to show your ad or video to people who resonate with the hook. So if you're calling out, pregnant mothers, or you're calling out, automotive salespeople, or calling out roofing business owners, you want to say, hey, are you a roofing business owner struggling to make invoices on the fly? Like, that is the hook that's going to get roofing business owners to see your ad. You want to run broad targeting on Facebook because their AI has gotten so good that they will just show to people who resonate with the hook. It's really, really, really that simple. You want to install the Meta SDK Pixel, which will send conversion events back to Meta. What does this mean? Well, we need to tell Meta ads when somebody installs, when somebody signs up, when somebody starts a trial and makes a purchase, because it will train its algorithm to show your ad to more people who are likely to do those things. And pro tip, you can run campaigns optimized toward each one of these events after you have enough data. We'll have an entire video on that on the YouTube channel. Okay. Then my honest recommendation is you need to run at least $20 a day budget on Meta ads for at least 1 week to even see if your app is promising and if it has any potential. That's not to be profitable. Like, please let me get that straight. That's not to be profitable. That's only to see if your app has potential and if your funnel converts. And you need to have at least 2 months worth of budget to set aside to actually have enough data to optimize your app and potentially get it profitable. I think $1,200 is still a very low budget. You can get it done in that much. So I highly recommend you have a secondary source of income, or you find an investor to potentially, allocate $10,000 or so or more into software resources and ads for your software product. I think if you have $10,000, you can absolutely get your funnel profitable as long as you're staying disciplined and you stay data driven. Okay. So mainly for this section on paid ads, I want to cover, why does the hook matter the most? UGC versus do it yourself versus AI, setting up the ads manager, how SDKs, events, and pixels work, and analytics and reporting. Well, I told you that the hook matters the most because that's how Facebook knows who to show your ad to. I think UGC creatives are good if you are not good on camera and if you have some budget and you want to pay, about $200 to a creator. If you can do it yourself and you're good on camera and you want to edit some videos yourself, I think you're going to save $200 and you're going to be able to move a lot faster. AI, I would stay away from AI right now because these platforms know AI generated content and I think they're throttling reach. So in my honest opinion, I wouldn't go with AI as we speak. I am running some AI tests. I'll confirm with data if that holds true in my Discord community, but I wouldn't recommend AI right now. I talked about setting up the ads manager. You want to make sure that the SDK is installed onto your app and that you're triggering those conversion events for the key events here. Okay. That means we hit the SDK events and pixels. And for analytics and reporting, I highly recommend using Mixpanel. We use Mixpanel to track pretty much all of our funnels. We created a vitals dashboard where we're keeping track of pretty much everything. So here we are keeping track of our download to create account rate. So you want to make sure that you have your Mixpanel report set up too. Otherwise you won't know what part of the funnel you need to fix. Okay. So that's paid ads. Then we get into influencer partnerships. And this isn't just like paying an influencer $200 and getting them to make you a video. I'm saying you partner on equity, you build, influencer promotes. Most influencers and creators have already thought of building a piece of software like an app or a web SaaS. I'm telling you, they have. Because every influencer and creator wants to make recurring revenue. And they probably have gotten ripped off once already by trying to hire somebody on Upwork. I know this because most of my entrepreneurs have gone through this, and I work with a handful of creators and influencers, and they all have gone through the same thing. I'm actually working with somebody right now who's an influencer. They were about to get scammed $8,000. The developer is holding their code hostage, and apparently they took the idea, they built it, and they're licensing it back to the person who wanted it built in the first place. It's absolutely crazy. So here's what I would prefer that you do. Take equity in the project to build the product in exchange for them promoting the product. You get some skin in the game, you go for the upside, and you ride it together. However, you need to make sure that the influencer puts some cash down because there is a likelihood that, or there is a chance that they don't promote the product. So you need to have them put some skin in the game. Do not do this without getting some cash down. My advice to find these influencers is to find small accounts on TikTok or IG, like 10,000 to 100,000 followers. These are people who are still close to like normal people who live normal people lives. They're probably not millionaires, and they're probably easy to get their attention of because they're actively selling something. So get their attention any way that you have to. Email, comment, text, whatever you got to do. And initially you want to build a relationship. Don't pitch your services immediately. Approach them with something like, have you already thought about building an app? Or hey, want to build a SaaS together? Look for creators who have already proven to monetize their traffic. Like people who have a link tree where they're selling a course, selling a Discord community, or selling anything digital, because that proves to you that the creator knows how to monetize. Okay. My biggest piece of advice here is to make sure that you get money up front. My advice to you is to get at least 10K in cash and take 33% or more of equity. If the influencer is broke, I wouldn't work with them because that means that they don't know how to monetize their audience. I just wouldn't do that. At bare minimum, 5K cash to fund development costs and to seed the bank account with some dollars. Like, you're going to have costs. Software is going to come up. You might need a couple of freelancers. You might need some design work. Someone's got to put some cash in a bank account, and 5K is not a lot of money. At this point, you can come in at like 40 to 50% equity, but make sure there's cash down. Otherwise, someone's not going to be motivated. You're putting hard, expensive skills in the game to build software. Like, make sure that you feel that the person has skin in the game that you're working with, and that you have enough equity to realize the upside. Okay. Now, the last part of this course that I think is the most important is mentorship. Okay. I have always been part of mentorship groups. I have always been learning from people who are 10 steps ahead of me. There's only ego in the way if you're not willing to be coachable and to just repeat the same process that other people have gone through. Beginner entrepreneurs make rookie mistakes for 4+ months, and then they learn the hard way the same things that experienced entrepreneurs have already learned. Beginner entrepreneurs don't value their time at $1,000 an hour. You should be valuing your time at $1,000 an hour. And I don't want you to do this, but eventually you're going to learn the hard way to listen to others like me. Probably because your ego is too big and you can YouTube your way to success. Look, there's a lot of great content on YouTube, but you can't feel the accountability. You can't feel the genuineness of somebody who's actually on top of you, showing you every step of the way from idea all the way to successful launch. The last thing that I think is surefire chance of failure is not being willing to change your idea because you're too emotional. You are so convinced that this idea and the same state of the idea is the only way that you're going to launch. You're not willing to listen to, forget me, your customers and people who are actually willing to pay. If you're not moldable, you're not willing to use data to make decisions, you're going to fail anyways. And you're just going to end up being a person knocking on a bunch of doors, trying to figure out who your product is for to begin with. Remember, experienced entrepreneurs build solutions for markets already looking for products, and we just pop it right under and get users like a waterfall. Experienced entrepreneurs value their time at over $1,000 an hour. They never hesitate to invest in themselves. They realize the power of following somebody who's already done that path. They're coachable, willing to put their ego away, and be moldable. And if that's you, I want to work with you one-on-one and show you how to go from idea to fully functioning software business that you can scale to the moon, exit for millions, and generate life-changing software income. If you want to work with me one-on-one to build and grow your app startup the right way, I'd love to work with you. There is a link in my description to apply to join the Dreams into Apps Accelerator. I've helped over 1,100 entrepreneurs just like you with a 4.9 star rating on Google. It's an amazing program. We guide you every step of the way. We have live calls pretty much all day, every day, where you can jump in and get support from technical coaches. We have an entire learning platform, curriculum, access to me, a thriving community where we do events in person pretty much all year long in cities all across the United States. Check out the link in the description. And if you enjoyed this full free course, make sure to like and subscribe for more free content on apps, startups, and entrepreneurship. It was a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much. I'll see you in another video.